So investigators are hoping the Black Hawk helicopter's black box can help them figure out the chopper's altitude and flight path at the time of the crash. An Army official says the maximum allowed altitude along that route is 200 feet. President Trump says it was far above that limit. Let's bring in retired Lieutenant Colonel Darin Gaub, a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. He is also the co-founder and executive director of Restore Liberty. Darin, thanks very much for coming on tonight. So most Black Hawks, it's my understanding, do not have black boxes, but you have an update on that regarding this particular machine. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, John. I've been on the show, a few shows on Fox and a few other networks over the last 36 to 48 hours. And through my 22 years of flying Black Hawks, you simply did not have the black boxes, cockpit voice recorders and the data that most people would expect to see on like a commercial airline. And as I've dug into this even more and talked to a direct source with knowledge of the unit, and then eventually this exact tail number, this is one of those rare Black Hawks that actually does have some black box capability that needs to be exploited. And this is a good news story. We're lucky to have that part of it, to be able to see if it can be exploited, get us information that would help answer some of those hard questions. The altitude, and by the way, also the communications between air traffic control and the Black Box, or the Black Hawk, and try to sort out maybe was there a communication challenge between the two. Remains to be seen, but the fact that this box exists on this aircraft now is good, and it's been discovered, is very good news.
The upper limit for flight of the helicopter along that river there is 200 feet, is it not?
It is, yes. I've flown that same airspace, and basically you got a floor, you got a ceiling, you got left and right vertical or lateral limits that you're supposed to fly within at all times, and that's a procedural restriction and limitation. But there is nothing physical that stops the pilot from climbing out of that altitude if something happens or they stop paying attention. Don't know what happened exactly there, but it would not be hard to climb above 200 feet if you wanted to.
Right. The accident apparently happened, according to the ADS-B data that was tracking the plane. The accident happened at about 350, maybe between 350 and 400 feet. Doesn't that sort of tell you everything you need to know about the position of the helicopter? The president certainly seemed to think so.
It gives you a very good start and a baseline, but that still is an assumption that has to be proven through both radar telemetry, and if the black box shows that, to be able to show that that altitude is an absolute fact at this point. If it becomes proven that that is the actual case, and it may already be, then that puts them directly in the flight path in front of a fixed wing, potentially landing or taking off, or as we saw, striking an aircraft from the side who's sharing the same altitude.
We've heard the cockpit communications, and one of the pilots on board the Black Hawk says, yeah, we've got the regional jet in sight and we'll maintain visual, meaning we'll stay out of its way. They had to be looking at the wrong jet, wouldn't you assume?
Yeah, for now you'd have to assume that. I listened to the air traffic control tower's transmission and the Black Hawk's response, and given that evidence in front of me, there seems to be a lack of clarity, at least the kind that I'm used to when I was flying, about which aircraft the Black Hawk was supposed to be looking for and clearing behind and continue on down its route. The investigation will have to clarify that, but I think there was a communications challenge that needs to be looked at heavily by the NTSB.
Yeah, and that points to the folks in the tower. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Darin Gaub, it's good to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks, John.